My name is Conor McDonald. I'm from Liverpool, England, and I am an entertainment and wildlife photographer. I've gone from photographing in small clubs and pubs in Liverpool to traveling the world. In the last year, I've switched to Nikon, and that was purely based on not just the photo qualities, but the video qualities as well, and how easy it is to switch in between both of them, because in my job, it's so run and gun, I have to constantly change between the two. I've seen a lot of creators come to Dubai, and I wanted to come and test out the Z6 here. There's been so many different shooting scenarios in Dubai. I've been shooting in small seaplanes, hot air balloons, in the desert, a live performance. Without the Z6, it just wouldn't have been possible.
We are back here at the Nikon Theater stage. If you are tuning in on Nikon Live, welcome back. Those of you here, I hope you're having a great time. We're going to keep going with more education. Just in case you don't know, we will have all these programs each day up on Nikon Live. So if you missed any program, you can go back to NikonUSA.com, look up Nikon Live, and you'll see these programs. The next photographer, and now I want to call her filmmaker, Christy Odom, is someone I met several years ago at a White House press dinner when she was being celebrated as an amazing photographer. Through the years, she's now adopted quite a bit of video, including some eye-grabbing slow motion video that will just knock you on the floor. So let's not waste any more time. Let's bring up to the Nikon Theater stage Nikon Ambassador Kristi Odom.
Thank you so much.
We said we were going to do this in slow motion. Slow motion.
Sure. My journey into video all started with bugs. Bugs in PhotoPlus last year. You see, I've been speaking for Nikon for about 5 years, and for the majority of the first 4, it was all these presentations on wedding photography. Now, I've loved weddings, and doing weddings over the years has been such a gift. Did my last wedding just a couple weeks ago. I got so emotional. The very second to last song, they played Toto's Africa. Getting teary again. And I had no idea that I would be so sad, because there have been so many memories, and it's been such a beautiful journey doing wedding photography for so long. But I was heading to Africa the next day to do wildlife photography. Wildlife has always been my biggest passion. I believe that the camera is a tool to show what we love and show what we care about. And to me, I think this planet is just so beyond beautiful that I want to connect people emotionally to wildlife. So PhotoPlus, they asked me, hey, Christy, you want to do a program on wildlife? And I'm like, yes! A great thing happened right before PhotoPlus last year. We came out with the new Nikon Z cameras. I got my hands on a Nikon Z7, and I'm sitting there going, I'm going to do a great wildlife presentation. And while they let us be a photographer and do what we want to do, a little birdie said, hey, it would be great if you had a little bit of Z footage to put in your presentation. Challenge accepted. Now, there were multiple problems with this challenge. One, it was wedding season. If you meet a wedding photographer during the month of October, give them a hug right now. It is a very busy time of year. Problem number 2, your files are due in 2 weeks. Okay. I live in the DC area. To find wildlife in 2 weeks, I was going, all right, what am I going to do? I pull out a map of the world. I look, maybe I can go for a day to Baja, California. Maybe I go do the Assateague courses. And I'm thinking, what am I kidding? I have no time. Where am I going to get photos for this presentation? I have this amazing group of people that we go out and we count birds on Wednesdays. And I knew that the group went and surveyed bugs on Fridays. So I contacted them and I said, can I follow you guys and take some photos of bugs? They're like, yeah, that would be awesome. So I started taking photos of bugs. One thing about being a photographer, and I love this quote. The quote is, photography takes instants of time, taking life and holding it still. As photographers, we're always looking, and that's a quote from Dorothy Lange. As photographers, we're always looking for that 1/200th of a second, 1/500th of a second. We're looking for these fractions of a second. So I started to notice that I actually look at my subjects waiting for those critical moments. And my mind, in a way, was already slowing things down. As a photographer, I'm waiting for the whale shark, the patterns to meet, to go right through the light. I'm waiting for gestures. And time in my head had already started slowing down, which is why slow motion video was a perfect start for my journey into video. I'm always looking to connect. I'm always looking how wildlife connects to one another, how wildlife shows their emotions, their anger, their excitement, their boredom with mom while she's fishing. But also, I love the bugs. One of the first things I started doing were these little video clips that I started putting on Instagram. And I was really excited because I could handhold and get great clips of things that I couldn't see with the naked eye. One of the things about, I'm going to share with you guys one of my first Instagram video clips that I put up. With video is I was always scared to do video because to me, I want to connect with my subjects. I want to be able to feel. I want to be able to be totally inside the moment. And I was always scared of video because there's so much production. There's gimbals, there's tripods, there's audio. And I was scared and I never felt a connection. When the Nikon mirrorless cameras came out, I started to realize I could do slow motion. That was all handheld. Have you guys ever had a bee that's just kind of hovered right in front of your lens? These cameras have up to 5 stops of image stabilization built in. So this bee, as it's hovering, I'm hand holding, and I all of a sudden just threw my camera on video mode, got the video, and once I slowed it down, I started seeing the wings, and I started seeing the pattern in flight. I'm going, oh my gosh, this video stuff isn't as big of a production as I kind of thought. I started doing a few more, and sometimes when you look at a subject, sometimes what speaks to you is a still image to tell the story of your subject. But one of the animals that I actually love, I love snakes. And when I see snakes, I will tell you, it's not an instant moment that I felt. When I see snakes, it's the texture of the skin rubbing against each other. It's the tongue coming out and how it slithers back in and out. And it's this beautiful movement. I was out with my bug group, and this snake was in the parking lot. And for me, what told the story was video. There I am. People looking. So that's me. These are people looking at me like I'm crazy, my wonderful bug group. But I think that what it came out with, these stories I started putting up more and more. The Nikon mirrorless cameras, they have multiple video modes. I like shooting at the very top, 120 frames per second. With that, in post, I can slow things down, I can speed things up. It really helps with ramping, and you capture audio in that mode. But if you want to keep things even simpler, you can go ahead and get the camera to do the slow motion and produce slow motion videos for you by doing 4 times or 5 times with your final output size in mind. So I've been doing more and more of these video clips. And one of the things that I noticed is I started learning about animals. So I started learning about behaviors. This lion, she was just using her tongue to lick a bug off. And I start watching, and I'm like, she's itchy. What is she doing? She's trying to nap. Look at the bugs, right? I didn't even notice this with my naked eye until I came home. So these lions in East Africa have come up with a great solution to bugs. Not everybody loves the bugs like I do. But the solution that this lioness has, watch this, and she's not even built for this. She's going to climb up and up this tree. but her claws don't work. She's using her head. She's going back and forth. I think as we evolve to get bigger and bigger, the less we're supposed to be up in the trees. But there she goes, right? And then she stretches down and look, no bugs. Right? I had no clue what she was doing. I figured it was a good advantage to have a sunset like that. But she just wants to sleep without the insects. That was all handheld with a 500 millimeter lens. I did all those clips inside the vehicle. I did rest the lens on the window of the vehicle, so I'm always looking for things to stabilize. In the snake video, you saw me put my elbows to the ground, and I was using that to stabilize. Now, I do like playing, and I do love doing video for social media. It's something I've been having a lot of fun with. And recently, my local camera shop, Ace Camera, Ace Photo, my friend Mo over there lent me an infrared camera. Like, oh, infrared's so cool for bugs because bugs are already kind of alien. The more and more I learn about them, the more I see these patterns and these, I don't know, they're so beautiful, they puzzle me. So I did play around and I did a bit of an infrared video shot with this Z7 of insects, and I'm going to share that with you guys right now. Never done video professionally before these mirrorless cameras. I've always been so scared of doing it, and then I started realizing how simple it was and how it wasn't a production and how I could do these little clips for social media. And the trip I just did to Tanzania, I had so much fun. But it's really cool because slow motion, when it slows down time, you see things that you may not see. It makes us learn more about subjects. Check out this hippo. This hippo, very simply, wakes up from her nap, yawns, but look at how epic the yawn is with the slobber, the flies going in and out of the mouth, right? So simple. She wakes up from her nap, she walks with her family, and I start noticing the texture in the skin, the way the dirt is kicking up, the way the feet are going. And it's great because such a small moment, like hippos waking up from a nap, yawning, and going into the water, is something that makes me connect with nature more. I was always afraid of the production that went into video, but then I started getting things like this. I'll share with you guys, but once they started walking, this light came up and backlit the smoke, and I thought it was just beautiful. And I'm really excited to watch over and over the hippo waking up from a nap and going into the water. Now, this clip was shot with the in-camera picture control. Because as I've said, I can be a little lazy, and sometimes I don't want to do the post, and I don't want to do the editing. But one of the cool things about the Nikon cameras is there's so many picture profiles under their picture control settings. And I put that in monochrome. I shot it in monochrome. I upped the contrast a little bit. When I put it on my computer, and it's great looking through an electronic viewfinder, because when you look through an electronic viewfinder, what you're looking at is what the image will look like, what the video will look like. So you can see the light, the dark, the monochrome, the contrast. So I didn't have to do any post-editing on that. I started putting these videos up on Instagram, just me playing around because I'm starting to really connect with nature in a new way through the video. And I'm using this hashtag, Nikon No Filter. Guys, I get asked almost on a daily basis, how do I show Nikon my stuff? This hashtag, right? This gives them permission to reshare. It shows them what you're producing with their cameras. It's great. So I start putting this hashtag up. I'm sitting there with my bug watching group over lasagna, and I get this call from Mike Corrado. Christy, we want to commission you to do a slow motion video piece. I'm like, what? I mean, Nikon can call anyone to do this sort of work. And I hadn't considered myself a nature videographer at that point. It was something I was playing with, but something I was shooting with passion. When they called me, of course, as I am, I started crying, and I was like, I would love to do a piece for you guys. Because for me, my goal is to connect people emotionally to wildlife, to have a platform where I could do a piece with animals and have it be shown on a bigger platform. I was so excited. And you guys might have seen this piece, but I'm going to play it for you right now. It was all shot with the 6 and the 7, the new Nikon mirrorless cameras, and it's been playing around the booth. Here it is. People ask me all the time where the video was shot. The video was mostly shot in East Africa, but then a huge portion of it was actually photographed in local Virginia parks, Northern Virginia parks in backyard. The birds were outside. I literally went outside my condo, walked down the stairs to a little bit of water, and there were these birds that I was able to photograph and put in this piece. The insect group has taught me you really don't have to go far to see amazing wildlife. It's all around us. There's great, I absolutely love being able to do focus peaking. If any of you guys have played with a knock, you'll see that there's focus peaking, and whatever's in focus will change and go red and black. Red, or over there it's set to blue. But with insects, I could change where my video was focusing with that peaking. I did just get back from Alaska, kind of in love with bears. Can you guys all hear me? Cool. I am obsessed with bears. I was teaching a workshop for Summit Workshops out in Alaska. One of the things that I love about bears is I love that they have so much emotion. They can play and have fun and interact. They can get angry and scary, but they can be soft and gentle. They can be so friendly and they can be so cuddly, and you can see them interact. But one of my favorite things about bears is that they have joy in being alone. I love watching bears when there's no other bear around and they're running and playing and having a good time. So in between teaching this workshop and taking a few stills, I took a couple of video clips and I put a piece together when I got back that I'm really excited I'm going to share with you guys right now. One thing I do want to point out is the detail in this camera. One of the things that I noticed when I was in Alaska, I went out there a week after, actually a couple days after, it had just had a heat wave. It was 90 degrees. When I'm shooting with these long lenses, you could see heat rising from the earth, which is not very common around bears. World's getting a little bit warmer. There's a lot of environmental changes going on, but I kept those clips in because I think it's part of the narrative of what's going on. But I'm going to show you guys a piece that I did that shows the emotions of bears as well as the joy that they have of dancing and being alone. This world is so beautiful, and this world is so precious. And the tools are getting easier and easier for us to be able to photograph our passions, photograph what we love, photograph what we connect, photograph the truth of the world. Being able to have, I never thought I could do video. These videos were all shot by one woman, edited by one woman, produced, everything, only me, barely any tripods, barely any gimbals, and they're pieces that I love because they're the pieces that I connect back with, the pieces where I see beauty, the beauty that makes me want to hold my breath and just love this world a little bit more. And I am so excited that technology is increasing so fast that we're able to do things like this. It all started with a bug in PhotoPlus last year. And I'm really excited to be here. Giant thank you to Nikon for this journey and for creating tools for us to be able to share our passions. The mirrorless systems turned me into a videographer, and I couldn't be more grateful. And with that, I'm done. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate you all being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christy Odom. Beautiful. All right. Is this on? I guess it's on. We're going to take a little break. And we're going to come back with a very, very positive person, Jen Rozenbaum. She's going to talk to you about boudoir and portrait photography, and she's going to talk to you about her journey and the healing with her photography. So stick around. We're going to do that in about 15 minutes, right, Mr. Roy, producer? About 19 minutes. We'll be right back here.
This lens is small and light, and it allows me to get close and intimate to the people I'm photographing. And in a way, it almost allows me to become invisible. My name is Amy Vitale. I'm here in Cape Town, South Africa, shooting this incredible city that is so diverse in its landscape and also the richness of culture. I need my gear to be fast and sharp. Frankly, it just has to handle a lot of abuse because I'm in these extreme landscapes, for example, in the middle of a sandstorm. I've been really impressed because this lens is tack sharp in every situation and at every focal range, whether 24 to 70, also when it's wide open, 2.8, sharp. If I can only have one lens, this is it for me because it can handle a whole range of situations and it's light and sharp, durable, and fast.
I've been working with Nikon super telephotos for the last 10 years. They're essential for the work I do. When they reached out about their new 500mm f/5.6 prime lens, I did not expect this. An ultralight and compact super telephoto. My job takes me to some pretty remote places, and the weight of my backpack is always something I have to take into consideration. But I'll choose heavy over lack of performance any day, so I really wanted to see what this lens could do. I couldn't think of a better testing ground for performance than photographing birds. Photographing animals is a lot like photographing people. Body language and gesture are essential. I'm not interested in photographing them perched. In flight is where the action is. But it's a patience game, and when the moment presents itself, the last thing you want to do is miss the shot. This lens is ridiculously easy to handhold, and Nikon's technology makes it not only ultra light, but razor sharp. If I needed an extra focal length boost, the ability to switch to DX mode in my Nikon D850 changes my focal length to roughly 750mm, without decreasing the speed of the lens. The last thing I want to worry about is durability. The dust and drip resistant build keeps me confident that the lens will hold up in hard outdoor conditions. The autofocus locked on with precision, and the VR allowed me to easily shoot in low light. This lens nailed it in every category. It's something I want in my backpack, anywhere I go.
My name is Conor McDonald. I'm from Liverpool, England, and I am an entertainment and wildlife photographer. I've gone from photographing in small clubs and pubs in Liverpool to traveling the world. In the last year, I've switched to Nikon, and that was purely based on not just the photo qualities, but the video qualities as well, and how easy it is to switch in between both of them, because in my job, it's so run and gun, I have to constantly change between the two. I've seen a lot of creators come to Dubai, and I wanted to come and test out the Z6 here. There's been so many different shooting scenarios in Dubai. I've been shooting in small seaplanes, hot air balloons, in the desert, a live performance. Without the Z6, it just wouldn't have been possible. The Z6's autofocus has been really good at tracking cars, wildlife.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Nikon booth area, we will be going live in about 8 minutes here from the theater stage.
Really impressed me. On this shoot, I haven't used a single external light, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without the Z6. And it won't just help me, but it'll help anyone that shoots video solo. Features that I'd normally expect on a much bigger camera, like being able to shoot full HD, 120p, slow motion, being able to get very cinematic looking shots. When I use an external recorder on a Z6, I can shoot 10-bit N-Log. Having N-Log footage means that when it comes to post, I can bring out all the details, be it clouds in the sky, you know, reflections in the buildings, so I can get the look exactly as I want when it comes to the grade. Using the Nikon Z lenses from when I've been using autofocus on them, it's been amazing to see that there's absolutely no breathing whatsoever. The mount adapter has allowed me to use all my f-mount lenses as well, which has been amazing, and all my long zoom lenses for the wildlife, and it gives me all the access to all the tools I use on a day-to-day basis. Having used the Z6 in Dubai and seeing what it can do, I'm really excited to use it on my next job.
I wanted to have the lights of Paris, clean background, pure lines, beautiful use of golden hour as well, and so it was really exciting for me to get the chance to shoot that with this new lens. I'm Chloé Lapessoni. I'm a French photographer specialized in weddings and portraits. When I shot with the 85, it's amazing compared to what I've been shooting because the focus is extremely sharp, but also we have the bokeh, which is like super smooth. I didn't get any chromatic aberrations or fringe like I would like, and I didn't get any ghost flare either, which was amazing because I don't have to deal with that in post-production. Good portraits for me is like being able to have a really nice bokeh and the sharpness when you want it and where you want it.
Optical performance is evolving to a whole new dimension. The Nikon Z Mount. In pursuit of higher quality images, Nikon has realized a large inner diameter of 55 millimeters and a short flange focal distance of 16 millimeters. Thanks to the Z Mount, sufficient light that ensures much higher image quality can be received, enabling the creation of new image expression.
According to Roy's clock, we have 3 minutes before we go live again with Jen Rozenbaum.
0.95 aperture. This lens delivers groundbreaking optical performance by providing beautiful bokeh and a sense of depth that have never been experienced before. With the Z Mount, higher flexibility in lens design is made possible. For example, a large diameter lens can be located near the image sensor. A lens with a large diameter is able to convey light rays to the image sensor with minimal forced refraction, which is difficult using a smaller diameter lens. The lower refraction contributes to less lens aberration, allowing users to attain much higher image quality.
2 minutes, and we go live again.
Z lenses feature symmetrical construction with a centrally positioned diaphragm, which is said ideal lens construction. Incident light can be conveyed to the image sensor naturally with moderate refraction. Because the large diameter mount allows flexible layout within the lens barrel, various mechanisms can be incorporated to remarkably enhance lens performance. Evolved image expression is realized with improved lens performance. With the intensified sense of high resolution achieved using a larger diameter mount, even details at the periphery can be precisely reproduced. Via the adoption of a multi-focusing system, high-resolution images with minimal aberrations can be attained, even at the minimum focus distance. In addition, by suppressing sagittal coma flare that is usually difficult to control, point light sources can be faithfully reproduced as point images from maximum aperture. The large diameter Z Mount, developed in pursuit of higher image quality, opens the door to new image expression while realizing next generation
Josh
lens
Cripps.
performance.
You rock, man. Hi. Ladies and gentlemen, Jen Potheiser, sports photographer, is in the audience right now. Kelly Beezer's here. Christy Odom. We got them all. No logos. Hello and welcome back to Nikon Theater. We've got another great presentation coming up. And just so you know, if you missed any of these presentations so far, if you're tuning in, we've got them all posted on Nikon Live each of the days of PhotoPlus 2019, and we're coming down to the wire. I can't believe this. Months and months of preparation. The next young lady that I'm about to introduce is someone who is a dear friend of me and I've known for many, many, many years. I've been a fan of her work, but not just a fan of the work itself, the fan of her mission, her life mission, to empower women with beauty, to make them see the beauty in very, very tough times in their lives. She's an incredible portrait photographer. She's going to talk to you about creative boudoir techniques. Ladies and gentlemen, Nikon Ambassador, I am proud to announce, Jen Rozenbaum.
Hey. Thank you. Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so honored to be here, and thank you to Nikon for having me. Of course, it's always a privilege and an honor to be on this stage and to use the most amazing equipment to create the art that I create and working with the women that I work with. So today I want to talk to you guys about ways to create impact in your boudoir photography. Now, boudoir photography gets a bad rap sometimes, right? Everybody thinks it's just about being sexy and just about showing women in underwear, and that's really not what it is. For me, it's really about empowering women to be who they truly are. I have an expression, it's boudoir is who you are. And I think that that's so important because it doesn't just have to be lingerie. It doesn't have to be put in a box that we think it is, right? It's really about showing a woman as who she is. And to do that, we have to make sure that we're really creating impact in what we're showing. So today I'm going to go over some tips to put some more impact into your photography. And one of the things that I like to talk about, and I just talked about it over here in the shooting bay, and I'll be back in another shooting bay at 3 o'clock, is creating energy in still photos, right? Christy was just showing amazing videos, and there's a ton of energy in video, but I don't shoot video right now. Something I'm working on, but I don't shoot video right now. So I have to create energy in still images, and how do we do that? You know, energy in a still image really amps up what we're looking at. It tells the story. It creates interest. Otherwise, if somebody's just standing there super boring and there's no energy, there's no story to tell. So even though you're not shooting video and you're shooting a still image, please make sure that there's energy. Now, how do we do that? Well, in boudoir, there's many different ways that we can do that. And these tips will really apply to any posing that you do with any woman, right? Even if it's a wedding or it's a senior or it's a mom, all of these tips are going to work in putting energy in your photos. The first one is back arching. Back arching really serves a lot of different purposes. It helps with the posture, which is great for posing. It helps create curve, which we're always looking for in women, and it just creates an energy. It allows energy to flow through her body when she is arching properly. Just another couple of examples of arching. Now, this one back here is really more arching on the side, so it gives us a really nice curve. And you know, there is this booty revolution going on in the world. I say this every year, right? 10 years ago, women used to come in and say, can you make me look skinny? Now women come in and say, can you make me look curvy? So we have to really be aware of that, and this back arching helps with that as well. And this is even on the side here, we're still back arching and we're getting a beautiful curve, which is really what we want to see in boudoir photography. It's really all about curves and angles. Also, by the way, when you pose a woman like this, especially up against the wall, usually she's wearing high heels and she's feeling a little wobbly, but when you have her arch her back and put her bottom side up against the wall, that's what I call the anchor. It anchors her so she can't move after that. So it allows your posing to be a lot better and easier to work with her, and we can create energy in other ways as well. This is another example of arching the back, right? Just because she's laying down doesn't mean that you're off the hook for arching of the back. You have to do it. Although this is a little trick that I play with the camera. Now, one of the things I like to say is that it doesn't matter what the client looks like in person. It only matters what it looks like to the camera. So my camera and I, this is shot with the Z7. We have a very personal relationship. We talk to each other quite a bit, right? I say, okay, this is what I see, camera. What do you see? And I raise the camera to my eye, or now you can look through the viewfinder, and I say, do you agree with what I see? And if it doesn't, we make some adjustments. So this is a perfect example of that. She is actually not arching her back. What she's doing is popping her hip out toward me. And you would know that if you saw it in person. You would say, why is she laying all twisted like that? She looks ridiculous. But it doesn't matter what I see with my eyes. It only matters what the camera sees. And the camera reads it as she's arching her back. So we're creating this beautiful curve in her back just by a little hip pop. Toe pointing. Toe pointing is one of my favorite ways to create energy in an image. Toes and hands are often overlooked, and they're often ruiners of photographs. Does that resonate with anybody where, somebody might be in a beautiful pose, but her feet are in an awkward angle, or she's in a great pose and then she's holding a lot of tension in her hands and doesn't look good. So those are sort of like the cherry on the sundae, right? The sundae will still be good without the cherry, but if we really want to finish it, we got to put the cherry on top. So toes and hands and fingers and feet, those are things that we really need to look at every single time you're posing somebody. And that is a way to create energy in an image. There's a huge change in energy when a woman goes from flat-footed to on her tippy toes. She's using an energy here. So this is a perfect example that I'm standing in front of, where she's on her tippy toes. Now this is hard to do, so there's a really simple way of doing this with somebody. So, okay, I'm going to count to 3. When I say 3, go up on your toes. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Now there's a little bit of movement, there's energy, her muscles are tightening, so it creates an energy in the image. Also, toe pointing creates length. So look at how long her leg looks because we have one long line, also because her legs are long. So wouldn't it be a shame if we took somebody with long, beautiful legs and we made them look short because we flattened her foot and it stops the energy from flowing? Right? Really what we're doing here is we're not just posing the body, we're really looking for angles, we're looking for shapes. And when you change the way the foot is, if it's flat like this, you're changing that shape. We're really looking for a triangle here, right? Triangles are very flattering in photography. If her foot was flat, we wouldn't have that same triangle. We wouldn't have that same length. This as well with the toe pointing. Now here's the funny thing. We're always looking for curves, right? So here we get the length, and here we get a curve. And it's very funny. I don't know if you know anything about me, you'll know that I have a little shoe fetish. I really love heels, and they hurt to wear, right? And no woman would ever say high heels are comfortable. But I study a lot of shoe designers, and there's very famous shoe designers that say, well, it's not meant to be comfortable. It's meant to be sexy. It's meant to be feminine. That there's something about the shape of that foot that gives a femininity to the image. So you might just look at it as simple as pointing the toes, but really what you're doing is you're creating more femininity in the image and more energy that way. I love to use movement. Using movement gives a ton of energy to photos. Like I said, we're shooting still images, right? But we still have to use movement. This is an example of a client in my studio. I'm going to stand on this side. A client in my studio. And I might say to them, I want you to bring your hands, I'll put them in a foundation pose, and I want you to bring your hands up and down your body, just kind of moving them around. And I'm waiting for the moment. And I see it and I snap. Why is that? Well, this image would be much different than if I put her in the pose and I said to her, put your hands here. That would be weird, right? Nobody does that. That's a weird pose. But if you're capturing her in the moment of movement, then it's authentic. And it's something that she recognizes because it looks like her. That's how her body moves. I can help her with posing, but I can't determine how her body moves, right? That's her own unique imprint, and that's really what we're trying to capture. You can see how movement really changes the images. So in this image here, I have her still. She's wearing a nice big tulle skirt, and I have her in her proper pose, and I take a photo, I take a portrait of her, and it looks beautiful. And then I say to her, Kristen, can you do me a favor and kind of move your skirt around? right? And I drop my shutter speed so we get a little bit of blur on her hands and a little bit on the skirt. And it's a different image. You see the change in energy in the image? Now she's dancing. Now she's telling a story. Now I want to know, what is she doing? What is she so happy about here? Why is she celebrating or dancing? And I like to open the shutter a little bit, just to give me a little bit of movement. We just did it over here in the shooting bay, and I can do it again if you come back later, where maybe I drop my shutter speed to about a 40th of a second, a 60th of a second, just to give me enough blur that I know, okay, there's movement happening here. And this is really simple, just putting her in a beautiful pose and then asking her to move. Super easy, but it gives some interest and it gives some texture in the image as well. Playing with hair is one of my favorites. I love big hair. I have a statement, right? The bigger the hair, the smaller the girl. So I love big hair. All my clients love big hair. So we do big hair, we get the hands in there, we play with it. It also gives the hands something to do, right? Because we often don't want to see the hands. They're not always as attractive as we want them to be, or we don't want to edit them. So we put our hands in the hair. And if she doesn't want to play with her hair, or she's not so good at it, another way that we can get some energy in an image is just by using a fan. Blow the hair around. Why do we like that? Again, there's just energy, there's just movement, there's a story. All right, I'm going to teach you guys a little tip that I call creating a closed circuit. Now, here's a quiz. When you walk into a room and you turn a light switch on, what is actually happening? Anybody know? You're closing a circuit, right? And then that's what makes the energy, that's what makes the light go on. When you leave a room, you're breaking the circuit when you shut off the light switch, right? So the light shuts off. I want you to remember this in photography. It's the same thing with posing. If I pose a client, let's say she's standing here like this and her arms are hanging, this is called an open circuit. Her hands are not connected in any way. If I have her just connect her hands to her body in any way, shape, or form, whatever it might be, we're closing the circuit, right? There's a full circuit happening here. There's a huge difference in energy there. When the hands are just laying there, it looks like the client's bored or she doesn't know what to do or there's no connection. By having her put her hands somewhere on her body, she's connecting to herself. And that's what we call closed circuit. Now this is, I have rules of posing. I have a lot of rules, more than I can even teach you today. But in the rules of posing, they're usually what I call 99% rules, right? 99% of the time, this looks better. The closed circuit, however, is more of a 50% rule. 50% of the time, it looks better if it's a closed circuit. So there are moments where we don't use a closed circuit, but in most moments we do. And this is a perfect example. This is a place right here where somebody might open a circuit, where you pose someone and the arm would just be hanging. I'm very careful about touch your thigh, give some connection here. The closed circuit is very, very important. Now the closed circuit is not just about hands, it's also about legs. So for example, we're closing the circuit here. Okay, I see many times people will pose and they will keep the legs apart, and there's a disconnect there. Just by bringing that one foot over the other, we're creating this closed circuit, and it's a different type of energy. And again, we get triangles, right? Which is what we're looking for in posing. Expression. Expression is a tough one. This is a question I get a lot. How do I get a good expression? It is so important to have a good expression. That is a huge way to amplify your boudoir photos, right? And really all photos, we all want an expression, a good expression. So one of the tips that I'm going to give you is actually not about working on the actual expression, but about changing the way you photograph somebody. Changing your angle can actually change their expression, even if they don't necessarily move, or if you don't move and they change their face angle. And this is an example of that. Okay, this is Dee. This is in my studio here on Long Island, and she has a beautiful expression, right? She's breathing nicely. She's soft in her eyes. Her face looks great. And then I say to her, Dee, can you turn your head just a little bit to face me? And we get this, okay? It's not right and not wrong. It's just different. So we have to make decisions in the moment. How do we want the expression to be shown? Do we want it this way or do we want it that way, right? So we have to play around with each person individually and see how their face reads in different angles. Every single time I photograph a woman, I capture images looking up and looking down. Every single pose, I'll have her looking at me and then looking down her body, looking at me, looking down her body. Why? There's just a different connection that way. So the truth is that women really like photos of themselves looking down, and men like photos of women looking up. They like the eye contact and the energy, but women often will see pictures of themselves sexy and go, who is that? I don't know who that is, and I don't recognize her, and it freaks them out for a minute until they get used to it. You know, I know that you guys think that we all just like kind of make sexy faces in the mirror in our downtime, but that's not really how it works, right? If you are a wedding photographer, for example, and you want to get a happy bride, you're not going to just sit her down and say, smile, say cheese. She'll look happy, but there's no emotion behind it, right? What we want to do as boudoir photographers is the same thing. We really want to create energy. So with a bride, you'll say to her, okay, you know, go over there with your bridesmaids and do something, and you create a story, right? And then all of a sudden you get a genuine smile. Well, we want a genuine sexy face, but because we don't make faces in the mirror, we don't really know what that face looks like. So we want to make sure we get pictures looking up, pictures looking down. This is just an example of sort of the same idea, and I'll just say look up, look down. Same thing here, we start looking down. Even to get a good expression is amazing, because you can say just look down and then just look up at me. And it changes the way they look. In fact, yesterday I was privileged enough to have Dixie Dixon take some portraits of me, and she did that trick. She said, okay, just close your eyes and then look up at me, and I was like, I know this trick. But when looking down, I want to give you a piece of advice, talking about energy. Do you see here how she's looking down, but her lash line is still round? It's still like a semicircle, right? If you have her close her eyes, the lash line will be straight. So you have to have them just look down at their cheekbones. It keeps that energy. It's a different change. And what will happen is, if she closes her eyes and the lash line is straight, she's going to look sleeping or dead. And that's not good. Neither one of those is so sexy. So we want to make sure she's just looking down at her cheekbones, keeping that lash line round. It's just, we just read it differently. It's just how our brain works. So again, looking down and looking up. You know, because we don't always recognize ourselves as sexy, and we don't make all these crazy sexy faces in the mirror like everybody thinks we do, we want to make sure we get laughter. Laughter, like I said, has a different energy than a smile. There's energy behind the laughter. There's a reason behind the laughter. So this is actually a photo that I put up on my Instagram today. If anybody follows me on Instagram, you saw it. So how do we get laughter? How do you get a genuine laughter? Well, there's a couple of different ways. My favorite way is just by saying to the client, what could I say that would make you laugh? And typically she goes, I don't know. Click, 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 click. Because I know that that's what their reaction is going to be. Okay, so typically I get a laughter as a reaction. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get somebody very serious that says, I don't know. You're like, okay, this is going to be harder than I thought. So I usually get really immature and pull out, like, you know, fart jokes or something, and, you know, just kind of pull something out. Or I'll say to her, think of a memory where something was really funny, or if she's got a friend there, I'll say, oh, you know, can make her laugh, tell her a story, or say her word. Or I'll even say to her, what's a word that would make you laugh? And sometimes, you know, she gives it to me. The biggest mistake that we make with clients when we're asking them to give us an expression is we tell them what to think about. That's a huge mistake. We want them to tell us what they should think about, right? So I might say, I want you to think of a wonderful moment in your life, a sexy moment, a song, a movie star, somebody that makes you feel, you know, really happy. Think about that. You don't have to tell me what it is, but think about who that is. You know, I remember teaching a workshop once, and one of the attendees comes up to the model and he says, okay, you ready? Think about your husband. And I was like, I don't know if that's going to work. So, you know, instead of telling her what to think about, have her think about what she wants to think about. So laughter is a great one. And laughter is important because, again, it's who she recognizes. And like I said in my Instagram post this morning, it's also a memory that she had such a good time with you, right? And that's really important. She wants to look back and say, wow, I was really happy with that. Plus, typically, when you give a laughing photo, they're more apt to post that on social media and share that with friends. So it's really important to make sure you get that. Now, in boudoir, expression comes more from the eyes than it does from the mouth. Where in most other photography, when we're photographing women, we want to see smiles or, you know, whatever else you might want to see. It comes from the mouth. In boudoir, the expression comes more so from the eyes, right? A tiny little squint in the eyes, something like this. So I very rarely will just photograph a woman where she's just looking at me. I'll always say, pretend like I'm sort of out in the distance and give a little tiny squint. Not a like, is that you? Not a big squint, right? We don't want wrinkled forehead. We just kind of want like a little smokiness in the eye, as I call it. Just a little tiny squint. And again, you can see, I'm going to go back one, that her face is not parallel to the camera. Do you see that? Just by giving a little bit of an offset to her face, it changes the body language. It changes the expression. Breathing in and out. Oh my gosh, such a good one. So I have a little trick I'm going to teach you all today that involves breathing, both in and out. So oftentimes, especially in a pose where a client is laying down, something like this, I'll ask her to give me a quick breath in. And it needs to come from the chest, and what it will do is create some tension in here. So instead of her just laying there like this, I'll say, when I count to 3, take a quick breath. Ready? 1, 2, 3. See, you just did it, and you looked fabulous while you did it. That was amazing. I got you. I see you. It gives a little bit of tension right in the neck, right in the décolletage, right? It like raises her chest just a little bit, and it gives us some energy versus just laying there, right, not breathing. So, but you have to be careful. You don't want to get the scared face, right? You don't want the, that's a whole different thing. I don't do that. So we just have to give a little, it gives a little bit of energy. Breathing out works as well, by the way, because I often like a little parting of the lips. But sometimes if you ask a woman to part her lips, she just gets kind of like a heavy jaw. It's like, right, we don't want that. So just breathing in and then breathe out through your mouth. Creates a nice little part in her lips. It's really relaxed. And she looks relaxed because she's actually breathing instead of holding her breath. Okay, so posing. How are we going to amp up our boudoir images? Posing is a really important way to do this. If any of you follow me, you know I'm a posing fanatic. But really, posing creates interest in an image. When you have a scenario like this, where you're photographing a woman just on a white wall or a black wall or a plain wall, right? There's no environment in this. She is the interest in the image, so we want to make sure that she looks amazing. She has to create the interest. By the way, this is an open circuit, sort of, because I know someone's going to email me and go, you told us about closed circuits and you're showing all these open circuit photos, right? Sort of, but not really, because she's touching the wall, right? There's still a connection there, so it's still kind of a closed circuit. But just to show you, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. All right, so again, how do we create interest in posing? Looking for triangles. We've discussed that a bunch, right? This is a great example. Not only are her legs a big triangle, but she herself is a triangle. Oftentimes when I'm posing somebody, I squint my eyes just to see the overall shape, right? I don't want to see rectangles. I don't want to see squares. I want to see triangles. So she is a big triangle. And legs, like somebody with long legs, is such a great way to get different poses in, to try different things. Don't be afraid to experiment. This was something I wasn't sure if it was going to work or not. But whatever, you just try it, figure it out, see if it works. And it works on her, it might not work on everybody. This is another example of triangles, right? Not only here, but we have a little triangle here, we have a triangle here, she's a big triangle, right? We have lots of different triangles here, and it all creates interest in the image. It makes it more interesting to look at, and it becomes that she is the focus of the image because she is the interest. And just a couple more little examples. I like this one because the bottom half of her body is a triangle, and she's one big triangle. But then also we offset it by the straight arm. So we're just playing with different angles and different lines. I love playing and mixing sort of a linear element with the curves of a woman. I think that it just plays off of each other really nicely. Again, here, using her legs, creating triangles, arching the back. You can see how it sort of all comes together, right? Taking a breath. Here we're using the arm to frame her face, and again, give us another triangle. She's on her toes. Every little thing it might look effortless, but every little thing is a detail that we need to look at to bring it all together to make an amazing portrait. It works when she's on her knees like this, we get a triangle. And in this case, you might be like, where's the triangle? I don't get it. But she really still is a big triangle. This bottom half of her body is still a triangle. And we're doing that purposely by posing the knees a certain way, posing the legs a certain way. And that's really important when we talk also about cropping points, by the way. You really want to watch your cropping points when you are shooting boudoir. Oftentimes people want anonymous images, something like this. But you notice I got her lips in and a little bit of her nose. I would say at least get her lips in, but oftentimes I see images cropped right at the neck, and it's just going to make her look very heavy, very square, very thick. Yes, I love you, my audience. You're playing with the photo, right? It makes a big difference. So the cropping points are really important. And I'm definitely into different crops. I think that different crops are really mysterious and alluring. I actually really love cropping a woman's head, which I know is like breaks the #1 rule of photography, right? But in my work, I'm really trying to show intimacy and an intimate moment. And by cropping somebody's head or creating something like this where it almost looks voyeuristic, like I'm peering in on her, then I'm creating that intimacy. I'm really close with her. It says you're close with her, and that's what I want to see. Here I'm cropping right above the knee. Okay, super important point. We don't want to crop at the major joints, right? Because that will give us all sorts of problems with our brain. Our brain will start going, I don't understand what's happening here. Where's the rest of her leg? So we try to avoid the joints. But on something like this with thighs, especially when it's an area that women sometimes are self-conscious about, we want to crop right above the knee where it's the smallest part, right before we hit the knee. That really creates a nice line and a thinning out of the thighs and a beautiful shape, that triangle shape that we're looking for. Here again, you can see how I kind of just crop a little bit off of her head. I really like that. But what's so great is if you pose really well, which I hope that you do, you can get multiple shots from one pose. And that's what's so great about a pose like this, for example. Now, I shoot primarily prime lenses. This one was shot with the 58mm Nikkor lens with the adapter on the Z7. And I love this because it keeps me moving. It makes me move around and see what I have. So I might pose a woman, take a picture like this, and then I'm going to take a few steps in, and I'm going to get another shot of her just a little closer in. We got some movement, got the fan going, all the energy is happening, and then I'm going to come in, and I'm going to take another shot of her in, even a little bit more. So one pose, lots of different variation. One of the things that I really like to ask photographers all the time is, what is your intention? Intention is really the #1 thing missing from photos. It is so easy to take a pretty picture of a pretty woman. Anybody can do it. But I want you to start thinking about, what is your intention going into it? Bringing in lighting, posing, and wardrobes together to create a story. I want you to really think about that. Especially, when you're talking about a client like this, for example, she's stunning. This is a 2-time client of mine. It's easy. I could almost be half asleep and take pictures of her and she's gonna look good. But instead, I want to create a story. What do I want to tell about her? And these are just 2 examples of how we can bring wardrobe, lighting, and posing together to tell a different story, right? Here, the intention is to be darker. It's to be more moody. It's to tell a different story than something like this that's light and airy. In this case, even I used a piece of piping that I shot through to give like a little bit of an ethereal effect to her, right? Because that's the intention of this image. So same girl, same studio, same setup, just different lighting, creates a different look. What is your intention? In any moment when you are unsure of what you're going to do next, right? Like when I teach a workshop and somebody will step up to the model and go, I don't know what to do. I go, okay, well, what's your intention? Is your intention to make her curvier? Is your intention to show her having fun? Is your intention to have a light, airy photograph? Is your intention to make her look younger, make her look older, make her look sexier? What's your intention? Once you get your intention, you can go from there. This is another example, same woman, different wardrobe, different makeup, different lighting, same studio. But again, 2 totally different women, right? Women are multifaceted, so we want to be able to show all the different facets of them, and we can do that by bringing this all together. So this one here, we're showing more light and airy. It's a little bit more innocent looking. She's a little bit brighter. She's a little angelic with her hair all lit up. And here we go with a darker, moodier, right? This is 2 lights. This is 1 light. So we're just creating a different intention here. But what's so great about this is that when we get all of these different looks and these intentions, then this is how we make albums for clients. This is how we sell albums. This is how they want to come back, right? This past client of mine, Kristen, came back for another shoot because she wanted more looks. I want to see more facets of my personality. So just by bringing it all together, we can do that. And I would say to you, my most important piece of advice is that if you are going to shoot boudoir, or really anything that you're going to do, is to make sure you have fun with it. That's really the most important part. That is what is going to give energy and what is going to make your photographs look better. The energy and the confidence, it all starts with us. We set the tone for the images. So if you walk in and you have this amazing gear and you're ready to rock and roll, your clients are going to feel really at ease. They're going to have so much fun with you, and you're going to just have a great time. And that's really my top tip for boudoir photography, is just have fun with it. Set that tone. I really appreciate you guys being here with me today. If you want to see more of my work and get more tips, you can follow me at Jen Rozenbaum. And thank you to Nikon, my Nikon family. You're all amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jen Rozenbaum. We're coming back out. We have another program you don't want to miss as we start to wind down.
Like photographing people.
Thank you.
Body language and gesture are essential.
You're good. You're okay.
I'm not interested in photographing.
We're going to change up programs, and we have an amazing Atlanta-based photographer, Elizabeth Blank, here. Specializes in children's portraits and underwater. You're about to see it coming up as we wind down with 2 more programs.
This lens is ridiculous.
Elizabeth Blank and Dave Black. Hold tight. We're going to transition quick.
Light, but razor sharp. If I needed an extra focal length boost, the ability to switch to DX mode in my Nikon D850 changes my focal length to roughly 750 millimeters without decreasing the speed of the lens. The last thing I want to worry about is durability. The dust and drip resistant build keeps me confident that the lens will hold up in hard outdoor conditions. The autofocus locked on with precision, and the VR allowed me to easily shoot in low light. This lens nailed it in every category. It's something I want in my backpack, anywhere I go.
"60 seconds, 60 seconds. We're going live again. Come up and grab a seat. We got 2 more programs left. All right, come step up and grab a seat here. We've only got 2 programs left, and this one is very, very special. I met this next speaker from a conference called Click Away, and as soon as I saw her present to the crowd she was working with, it was like immediate love affair with the way she taught. She's based in Atlanta, and she specializes in children's portraits, commercial photography, but she does something a bit different. She photographs underwater. She's going to talk to you about how she does that today. She's an incredible person, an incredible speaker. Elizabeth Blank, welcome to the Nikon Theater stage.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Thank you very much to Michael, and also thank you so much to Nikon for having me here today. I'm super excited to be talking to you guys. It's funny though, because if somebody had told me 5 years ago that I would be up here on this stage talking to you guys, I would have never believed them. I was dealing with extreme burnout in 2016, where I saw my camera as a device that I really didn't want to pick up if I didn't have to. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself though. I'm going to go back to about 2008 when I received my very first DSLR, which was the Nikon D90. That camera was a camera that for about the first year that I had it, let me go back, there we go. The first year that I had it, I used it as a glorified point and shoot. In fact, I have a very vivid memory of turning the dial from A to the little flower icon and thinking that I was super fancy. Yeah, you guys know. So after using that camera not to its highest potential for about a year, I decided that I wanted to take classes and learn how to make the images that I wanted to create. And so in 2010, I took my first class, a 4-hour class that was taught by 2 local photographers in Atlanta, and learned how to take my camera from automatic mode to manual mode in one afternoon, and that was all she wrote. I could not get enough of photography, and so I decided to jump in feet first, learn as much as I possibly can, and really focused on child, family, and newborn photography. About that time, after that first class that I took, I went into business, which is a different conversation for a different day. But the saying, fail to plan and you plan to fail, that was basically what was happening here. I jumped in feet first and had never taken a business class a day in my life. So learned a lot of things through trial and error, but really enjoyed the work that I was creating. That is what led me, though, to 2016, where I was feeling super burned out. And honestly, hindsight being 20/20, I now know why those feelings were occurring. Around the same time in 2016, my husband and I decided to put a pool in our backyard, which seems like it has nothing to do with this conversation today. And I had two really dear friends who said to me, go underwater, take pictures underwater. But honestly, because I was operating from such an area where I didn't want to be doing photography unless I absolutely had to be, I really resisted for a while. But finally, after a couple of months of them really pestering me to do this, I finally said, sure, I'll do it, just to get them off my back. It was not until I went to a place that I absolutely could not breathe that I realized what I needed to be doing as a photographer, and that I found my why. And so that is when I realized that there was definitely more to the world of photography than I had realized previously. I'm excited to be here talking to you guys today about that newfound world that I found. But I want to give you guys a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look into what my sessions look like right now, because they are very different from what the average person is shooting in terms of preparation and what they look like on a daily basis. So I'm going to show you a really quick 3-minute behind-the-scenes video just so you can get a better idea of what the process looks like for me, and then we're going to jump into kind of the meat and potatoes of my work. Let's see if I can get this to go. It should be. There we go.
One of you pick top, one of you pick bottom, and just kind of swim. Does that work? Okay.
that's what a general session for me looks like. You can tell that nobody is like off limits. It's like if I don't have anybody to shoot, then I'll shoot the dogs. So that is, this is one of the images that we captured that day. These girls are mirror twins, and watching them underneath the water, like mirror each other, it was the coolest thing. But that was one of the images that we captured that day. So now I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the top 5 tips that I have for shooting underwater photography that I've learned throughout my time doing it thus far. Prepare yourself. So you saw within my video that I was using some things specifically to prepare me as well as my camera. So we'll talk first about the things that I use when shooting underwater. I always wear the Long John wetsuit that's sleeveless. I feel like it leaves me a bit encumbered to be able to just capture the best things possible without having to deal with wardrobe issues. I also will use a dive mask that has the nose enclosed as well, because when I'm diving down deep, I'm not worried about water going up into my nose. And then in addition to that, you probably saw on the video that I had the dive belt around my waist. The reason I had that on is because the camera, when I put it into the underwater housing unit, is so buoyant. It's like trying to push a basketball under the water. And by putting a 12-pound weight belt around my waist, it brings, I don't know if anybody is scuba certified out here. Yeah, okay, yes. So it creates a natural buoyancy that otherwise I would be pulled up immediately to the surface. So those 3 components allow me to be at my prime in order to shoot my subjects underwater. In addition to that, you saw my camera gear as I was putting it in the housing. I use currently a D700 from forever ago, as well as my Nikon Z6. I typically will pull my Z6 more often because the features of it just typically tend to be a bit more robust, but both of them have provided me with such awesome options for shooting underwater within a water housing unit. All right. Number 2, gear matters. So we've just touched on that a bit, but gear absolutely matters. And as you'll see as I'm going through these images, sometimes the water is pristine and at other points it's not. And so, for instance, in this image, this was taken earlier this spring. As I had mentioned, I'm from Atlanta. I don't know if anybody else is from the South here. Woo! Okay, yay. But we deal with ungodly amounts of pollen every spring. So when you're shooting underwater, you're shooting through a medium that is 800 times more dense than air. I like to say if you're shooting in pollen water, it's like 1,200 times more dense than air. It can be so dirty, honestly. But it also creates a really cool atmosphere for shooting images because you get a bit more of that ethereal look from the murkiness of the water that's surrounding them. So under this point, which is gear matters, I need a camera body that is going to be able to still go through that medium that is so much denser than air and grab on to the subject that I want to focus on and capture it without me having to do it twice, because 2 seconds later, she was up at the surface. It was a whole different scene. This is another example of pollinated water. You have these amazing light rays coming through, capturing the particles within the water here. But again, the camera was able to grab focus quickly on the subject that I wanted it to grab focus on and make the image. This is another example, same thing. In addition to that, I need a camera that's going to focus quickly. She had just jumped off of the rocks here and was about to enter the water, but because I was able to grab focus so fast with this image here, I was able to freeze that motion before she kind of submerged herself in. This was taken at 1/1600th of a second. So you can see that the shutter speed was high enough, obviously, but again, that capturing of the focal point was necessary in order to make it work. In addition to all of that, I need a camera that's going to accurately pick up my focal points. For this image in particular, there were many different layers to it. So you have her face, the bottom portion of her face, and I wanted to focus here on her lips in the area where the dive mask was hitting. But in addition to that, I had the line of the water butting up against the camera body, and it would have been very easy for that focal point to not have been accurate and pick up the line of the water as opposed to her face, but that was obviously not an issue. Then in addition to everything else we've discussed, I need a camera that's going to be able to capture my subjects moving through the water and lock that focus in on them. She had just jumped off of the stairs and was coming over to this next side, but we were able to capture that focus perfectly. I also need a camera that's going to handle low light conditions well. My Z6 absolutely does that for me. This was in Devil's Den in Florida earlier this summer, and it was very dark. There is one light source here, besides the few ambient lights that they have lighting up the rocks you can see here. Everything else was lit solely from the sunlight coming in from above this cavern. The sides of it, and it's kind of hard to see on the edge, but everything was intact when I brought this image back into Photoshop and Lightroom. Because it was able to handle those low light conditions. Finding the light. Now this is where I might make enemies, but I think that it's almost more important to find beautiful light under the water for what I'm creating than it is on land, because I am working with such a medium where the light is coming in from the sun above. So much of it is being reflected right back off into the surface, into the atmosphere, and it is being taken back into the environment. So what's penetrating the water is going to be less than what's available otherwise. So what I typically do before I ever put a subject underneath the surface is I will put my mask on and I will go and survey the scene and find those areas of light that I want to shoot in. I can typically see where they're going to be from above the surface because of the way that that light is interacting with the surface below. The hot spots that you typically that a lot of people avoid on land, you know, the dappled lighting, that is what I love shooting in when I'm under the water because it creates this spotlight effect that otherwise would not be present. In this image here, she was swimming into almost like an overhang, a cave almost, which is what's creating that shadow on her, and that light is coming down directly from above. You can see in this image, the light is again coming in directly above her, which you're going to be able to see from the bottom. Oftentimes, however that light's reflecting from the bottom will give you a really good indication of how it's coming in, the quality and the quantity and the direction that it's coming in. This was one of those images where I went under, saw this spotlight effect that was happening, and placed her in it. She's got a little shark in her hand. I placed it right in the bottom where you're seeing here, had her go down and get it, and then framed her in that. This is another image where, again, the light was really important. It's a little bit softer than the previous image, which means that it was coming in not from such a high angle. It was a little bit lower in this area. So you can kind of see that the light rays are coming in just a bit softer and not nearly as defined. Backlight is my favorite light regardless of whether I'm in the water or on land. And so in this image here, you've got the light coming in from behind her, which is illuminating this area here, but the sun is so low in the sky that it is only really illuminating the top portion of the water here, and you're not getting too much of a bright space on the bottom of the pool here. Just another way of kind of bringing attention to the subject. And then in this image, again, that sunlight is coming in from above. I love light rays, if you guys can't tell. They're like my jam. And I will try to put my subjects in them as often as possible. You can see the light coming onto her tutu from above and her foot there. This image was taken, again, with the sun being pretty high above. You can double check from where the light and how the light looks like on the bottom of the floor of the pool here. But it's coming in from high above, but you've got a different situation going on here because there's a water feature happening that is picking up the different speckles of light as it kind of is transformed through that water. Okay, so light matters. When you don't have available light, you can create it. This was taken with, it was on the sun had already set, so it was dusk. It was very dark in the pool. By taking an off-camera light and putting it camera to the right of him, I was illuminating his face by placing it just above the surface and bringing that ray down onto him. Obviously, these are going to be a little bit grainier, simply because of how the settings where my ISO was a bit bumped up. The other settings were obviously in the same zone. Settings matter. Now, I told you guys about the day where I first went under the water and that was life-changing for me. What I didn't tell you was how terrible the images were that I created that day. They were not pretty. That is one of the main reasons with that is because of the settings. I was not able to change my settings that day based on the camera that I was using because I had not jumped into the world of underwater photography yet. I didn't have a housing unit for my DSLR. It was not going underwater. But after that experience, when I pulled those images into Photoshop, I was like, oh, this is not going to cut it. I need something else that I can control the settings for. This image was taken around dusk. You can see that the sun was pretty much setting to her right, and that the sky was very cloudy, so it was a bit diffused as well. The settings here were an ISO 200, an aperture of f4, and 1/4000th of a second. This is what we call a split image, or an over-under image, where you have two scenes being represented here. These images are interesting because your aperture plays a huge role in these shots. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. But I knew when I saw this sunlight peeking through these trees that I wanted to incorporate that in my image, but I also wanted the focus to be on her. I wanted that to be a secondary piece of information. So I took my focal point and placed it on her down below the surface and let the rest of it just kind of play into gear. This was taken with a 24 millimeter 1.4 lens. My ISO was at 640 because the light was beginning to be lost a bit. f2.2 and at 1/1600th of a second. The reason these images are interesting is because your aperture, like I just mentioned, plays a huge role in this. At f2.2, the focus was going to land where I placed it, but everything outside of that zone was going to be kind of that bokeh. It wasn't going to be in focus. However, for images like this, where I want both scenes to be in focus, my aperture has to go up. Okay, so I've got to narrow it down so that I can have that larger depth of field available. This image was taken at f8. Because we were on a boat, I knew that the distance from him to the edge of the image that I wanted to capture was not crazy deep. I mean, it was deep, and f8 got me in that vicinity. But if I was shooting a resort or something like that and wanted to have my subject in focus as well as the hotel behind, definitely f16 would have been much more in line here. All right. This image, alternatively, I wanted her to be the focus, and I wanted everything else to be secondary. I wanted everybody to know that there were friends behind her, but I didn't necessarily want them to be part of the story. So I placed my focus on her here. This is at f2.8, and let all of them kind of just fall into the blurry background that you can see here. For this image, I placed my focus on her and had someone else sitting about where I was kicking bubbles. And so that is what's creating this look of bubbles in the foreground and then leading your eye through to her as she dives down. And this was shot at f2.8. For this image, it was all about the shutter speed because I wanted to freeze her motion as she dove backwards into the water here. This was at an f2.8 and 1/2000th of a second, which was just high enough to be able to maintain that movement throughout the water and also capture all of the ambient light around her. Okay, last but not least, safety first. And this is not last. I mean, this should be number one, honestly. The biggest thing that I do when I shoot kids underwater is I have another adult present. There cannot be too many eyes on a child underwater. It's so very important that that is first and foremost. No shot is worth risking anyone for the picture. If a child is not a super confident swimmer, then I also require that the parent be in the water with me because I need to have that extra set of hands to be present and available. So, all of that being said, I want to leave you guys with this question. What is out there? What genre of photography is out there that you don't realize is your underwater photography for me? If that makes sense. So create a revolution. Create whatever causes a revolution in your heart. And what I mean by that is go out, explore the world. Perhaps you're already doing that, which is awesome if that's the case. But if any of you are sitting out there feeling a little bit burnt out or a little bit uninspired or unmotivated, pick up a different lens, pick up a different camera body. It might be as simple as a point and shoot that takes you underwater, or a macro lens that's going to open up this entire new world of tiny details for you. But that's my challenge for you today, is for you to get out there, get out of your comfort zone, and expose yourself to other opportunities that you might not know exist. Back in 2006, I was ready to hang up my camera for good, and today, I can honestly say that this is the happiest I've ever felt as a photographer, because I am creating what matters and what speaks to my heart. So, I wish all of that for you, and I am so grateful for your time. Thank you for having me. And it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elizabeth Blank making waves here at Nikon.
Experience places
So
I
much.
would never have dreamed of going.
All right, we got one last break before we go live again, and truly, this is one you don't want to miss. If you've never seen Dave Black speak, you must stick around to watch this last program. He's got glow sticks, he's got props, and he's got some amazing photos. Dave Black coming up next, right here at the Nikon Theater in about 14 minutes.
This lens is small and light, and it allows me to get close and intimate to the people I'm photographing. And in a way, it almost allows me to become invisible. My name is Amy Vitale. I'm here
Did
in
you
Cape
take my
Town,
job?
South Africa,
My
shooting
glow
this
stick job?
incredible city that is
It's the only
so
job I
diverse
had.
in its landscape and also the richness of culture. I need my gear to be fast and sharp. Frankly, it just has to handle a lot of abuse because I'm in these extreme landscapes, for example, in the middle of a sandstorm. I've been really impressed because this lens is tack sharp in every situation and at every focal range, whether 24 to 70, also when it's wide open, 2.8 sharp. If I can only have one lens, this is it for me because it can handle a whole range of situations and it's light and sharp, durable, and fast.
Ladies and gentlemen, what do Dave Black and glow sticks have in common? That is the question right now. Why is Dave handing out glow sticks? What is he going to do with the glow sticks? What color glow stick did you get? Crack 'em up, shake 'em up. Ladies and gentlemen, our final program for PhotoPlus Expo 2019 is going to happen in 10 minutes. Dave Black and glow sticks. Why does he have glow sticks? That's the question right now. What are we doing with glow sticks? Dave's going to tell you.
I've been working with Nikon super telephotos for the last 10 years. They're essential for the work I do. When they reached out about their new 500mm f/5.6 prime lens, I did not expect this. An ultralight and compact super telephoto. My job takes me to some pretty remote places, and the weight of my backpack is always something I have to take into consideration. But I'll choose heavy over lack of performance any day, so I really wanted to see what this lens could do. I couldn't think of a better testing ground for performance than photographing birds. Photographing animals is a lot like photographing people. Body language and gesture are essential. I'm not interested in photographing them perched. In flight is where the action
Light
is.
transformation.
But it's a patience game. And when the moment presents itself, the last thing you want to do is miss the shot. This lens is ridiculously easy to handhold. And Nikon's technology makes it not only ultra light, but razor sharp. If I needed an extra focal length boost, the ability to switch to DX mode on my Nikon.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next program starts in 7 minutes with Dave Black.
Without decreasing the speed of the lens.
Nikon Ambassador Extraordinaire.
About is durability. The dust and drip resistant build keeps me confident that the lens will hold up in hard outdoor conditions. The autofocus locked on with precision, and the VR allowed me to easily shoot in low light. This lens nailed it in every category. It's something I want in my backpack, anywhere I go.
He's working the crowd. His name is Dave Black. He's so ready to go.
My name is Conor McDonald. I'm from Liverpool, England, and I am an entertainment and wildlife photographer. I've gone from photographing in small clubs and pubs in Liverpool to traveling the world. In the last year, I've switched to Nikon, and that was purely based on not just the photo qualities, but the video qualities as well, and how easy it is to switch in between both of them, because in my job, it's so run and gun, I have to constantly change between the two. I've seen a lot of creators come to Dubai, and I wanted to come and test out the Z6 here. There's been so many different shooting scenarios in Dubai. I've been shooting in small seaplanes, hot air balloons, in the desert, a live performance. Without the Z6, it just wouldn't have been possible. The Z6's autofocus has been really good at tracking cars, wildlife, performers on stage, and I haven't missed a single shot. The Z6's ability of shooting in low light has really impressed me. On this shoot, I haven't used a single external light, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without the Z6. And it won't just help me, but it'll help anyone that shoots video solo. Features that I would normally expect on a much bigger camera, like being able to shoot full HD, 120p, slow motion, being able to get very cinematic looking shots. When I use an external recorder on a Z6, I can shoot 10-bit N-Log. Having N-Log footage means that when it comes to post, I can bring out all the details, be it clouds in the sky, you know, reflections in the buildings, so I can get the look exactly as I want when it comes to the grade. Using the Nikon Z lenses from when I've been using autofocus on them, it's been amazing to see that there's absolutely no breathing whatsoever. The mount adapter has allowed me to use all my f-mount lenses as well, which has been amazing, and all my long zoom lenses for the wildlife, and it gives me all the access to all the tools I use on a day-to-day basis. Having used the Z6 in Dubai and seeing what it can do, I'm really excited to use it on my next job.
I wanted to have the lights of Paris, clean background, pure lines, beautiful use of golden hour as well, and so it was really exciting for me to get the chance to shoot that with this new lens. I'm Chloé Lapessoni. I'm a French photographer specialized in weddings and portraits. When I shot with the 85, it's amazing compared to what I've been shooting because the focus is extremely sharp, but also we have the bokeh, which is like super smooth. I didn't get any chromatic aberrations or fringe like I'd like, and I didn't get any ghost flare either, which was amazing because I don't have to deal with that in post-production. Good portraits for me is like being able to have a really nice bokeh and the sharpness when you want it and where you want it.
Optical performance is evolving to a whole new dimension. The Nikon Z Mount. In pursuit of higher quality images, Nikon has realized a large inner diameter of 55 millimeters and a short flange focal distance of 16 millimeters. Thanks to the Z Mount, sufficient light that ensures much higher
yes, I know I'm hot.
Can be received,
the speaker,
enabling the creation of new image expression. Only the Z Mount can achieve such an extremely
30 seconds, 30 seconds. We're going to count down 10 and cheer at the end so everybody that's tuning in is already walking in or listening into our screaming.
Performance by providing
right, Christy?
bokeh and a sense of depth that
right,
has
Elizabeth?
never been experienced before.
Kelly, we need it.
With the Z Mount, higher flexibility in lens
15
design
seconds.
is made possible.
What do you do? 15 seconds. That camera's going to go live. I don't know what I'm going to say.
Example,
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Time for me to talk. Welcome to Nikon Live. Here at Photo Expo, we're closing down with the last program. We've had so many great programs and presentations up to this point. And I guess I do kind of want to save one of the best for last. His name is Dave Black. He's a Nikon ambassador. Now, if you haven't seen any of the programs up to this point, you can watch them on Nikon Live. It is time for you to go.
No, I gotta get.
I know, and you have a flight to catch to Denver. Well, anybody from Denver, because it's snowing or about to snow like crazy. So, we're going to get this thing going. Where are you going? Get back up here. You need to go. It's time. We're ready. You guys ready? Are you guys ready? Ladies and gentlemen, with light and all the great things that transform in it, Mr. Dave Black.
Thank you, brother. Whoa, Nelly. Is everybody here? Yeah. If you're not here, raise your hand. Oh, okay. I got one, man. It's the same one I borrowed from you in Las Vegas, like last year at CES. It's cool. How do I make it work? Oh, there we go. All right. My name is Dave Black. I'm one of Nikon's ambassadors. Okay. We're going to be talking about lighting here, and we're going to be talking about sports. And we're going to be talking about long exposures, short exposures, and I might even take a question or two if there's time left over and I don't have to catch my flight, but I got to get to a flight. So here we go. Light transformation. Ridiculous here. Oh, how many are on Instagram? Yeah, you want to get on Instagram because like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I post Instagram and I like teach something. I put up a picture and I tell you how it's made. Everything, there's a backstory like why it's made, and then there's all camera data, white balance, shutter speeds, all that kind of, what lenses are used, what lenses weren't used. That's usually a longer list, the ones that weren't used that day, but the one that, anyway, get on Instagram and follow me along, and it's teaching. I like to teach. I like to teach as much as I like to shoot. It's as simple as that. I love teaching. Let's get it out of the way right now, okay? I'm here for Nikon, right? Okay. I use the Z7. That's my primary camera right now, the Z7. I love that thing. I love it. Small, light, portable, right? Travel size for your convenience. It's great. Love that thing. I also use the D850. These are two, the file sizes are exactly the same, right? So I like that. But I'm going to give the nod to the 7 as far as quality goes. It's a little bit better. How many think a little bit better? Yeah. You know, you can take an old lens that wasn't like hot stuff. You put that on the Z7 and it's like, whoa, new life. It like breathes new life into the lens. It's like, wow, did the lens get better? Oh, the camera's just like kick ass. Yeah, it is. And I use the SP5000s to do like 99% of my lighting is done with the SP5000s. Or any speed light, because I've been doing speed lights for like 20 some years because they did high speed sync a long time ago, before anybody else was doing it. And I thought I needed high speed sync for my sports action. Okay, let's get going. Michael Phelps, woo, Mr. Olympian right there. So I'm going to start with just sports coverage. No lighting involved, right? Because that's where a lot of us start. If you're doing sports or you're doing weddings or landscapes or whatever. Landscapes, really? It's like no lighting, right? You're just out there taking pictures. You bring your camera up, you take a picture, you go home, you have a donut, you're ready to go, right? So I covered 12 Olympics over my 27 years in Olympic and World Championship type professional sports and so forth. So it's like a 600 millimeter lens with a 1.4 converter, and there goes Michael Phelps. He takes one breath. When I take like one, 2 shots, click, boom, and he gets the gold medal. You have to know your sport. If you know your sport, and I'd seen Michael Phelps before, and if you know he's going to take one breath, and then you think, okay, I know right where it is. It's right at the middle of the pool, right? Except I'm going to let him get past the middle of the pool, and I'm going to be back just a little bit because he actually looks backwards at you just that little bit, not directly to the side. I thought, you know about your sport, you're going to get better pictures. This I give you for free. The winter sports. How many have ever been to the Winter Olympics? Nobody? You got to go. You just got to go. Because the sports are like weird. It's like nobody does them. Who does these things? We don't do this. Baseball, football, we understand. Soccer, right? But like ski jumping, I had an announcer one time at the national championship. She said, hey, for those who haven't been familiar with the sport of ski jumping, when you're driving back to Denver today at 85 miles an hour, just open the car door and step out. And that'll give you the exact same feeling. I mean, it was like crazy stuff. Football, right? 1983, I entered the league. Ran onto the field with John Elway, And then I walked off with my last football game with Peyton Manning. It was a long career, loved football. Great stuff. I'm always big on big. I don't crop my pictures. All the images I'll show you, there's no cropping. It's just what it is. You okay with that? Yeah, you kind of went, whoa. I thought that we... Not because the cameras, files don't have beautiful quality. Yeah, you can crop in all day long. I mean, it's like not a problem. But I like to kind of present it to the editor as I saw it, as I see it. And I think that's why they're hiring me, because I have a particular vision about what I want my football players to look like. So everybody else gets out their 70 to 200, they're on the 20-yard line. They get their 70, and I get out my 600. Jeez. And I have the ibuprofen bill to prove it, from holding the thing. But then you get a different picture, and when it comes across the screen, when they're like reviewing the pictures, it's like, whoa, it's impactful. You want to make an impact. When you're shooting sports, you want them to experience that sport. I want them to experience what I'm going through. Doesn't matter what I'm shooting. That's what sells it. That's what sells it, not the comment. You want to be impactful and make them experience exactly what you're feeling. Boom. Baseball. Ooh, man, I'm going back in my files for this one. This is how he's on film, right? Oral Hershiser, you know, Cy Young Award winner, you know. I used my Z7. If you go to my Instagram today, just swipe it right. It's a picture of a freestyle skier up and down in the Alps. The European Alps are down below. And if you slide over one thing, it's going to show you my Z7 with a macro lens on a light table. And this is how I do all my kind of converting my slide transparency files and archives into digital files. I use the Z7 now and a couple of speed lights. Bam. It's been the best quality so far. So what I'm trying to tell you is you don't have to buy a Nikon scanner. And you heard that. Can I say that, Mike? He's already gone. He's probably reporting me into somebody. Okay. Oh, who likes mirrorless? Mirrorless camera. Nikon mirrorless camera. 2004. Really? Yes, really. They had a mirrorless camera in 2004. You could get raw files with it. Silent shutter, makes no noise. Here comes Phil Mickelson winning his first Masters. This is the camera tower at 18 at the 18th tee at Augusta National. Silent shutter. Take that. Well, that was too loud. That's too loud. It's like this. There it is. That's it. That's all you get. So I was using mirrorless long time ago. So when the 7 and 6 came out, I was like, hi. Yes, that means yes in Japanese. Said, hi, right? Boom. Remote cameras. I like using remote control cameras. So all this is sports coverage, right? A lot of people can shoot this now. Autofocus works great, you know, and everybody's got cameras and lenses and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden I realized that you've got to start looking for pictures that no one else can make if you're going to get along in this business. And a little bit of business going on here, right? You've got to make pictures. William Albert Allard from the National Geographic, the famous guy. You've got to look for pictures and start making them that no one else can make. Well, how are you going to do that? And I thought, man, everyone I go to at these events, I go sit in the photo well at Yankee Stadium. I'm on the sidelines at the Raiders games. I'm just whatever. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, we are all kind of getting the same sort of picture here. So if I'm going to compete, and I am trying to compete, it's a business out there, I got to figure out a way to do it. And I decided that lighting was the way to do that. This is Blaine Wilson. He was a 3-time Olympian for the U.S. This guy could crush a beer can on his head. So fat, wham! He could just, anyway, he was kind of a wild guy. This is him competing at the national championships. Oh, I'm sorry, world championships. Everyone can take this picture. You have a 400 millimeter lens. There's like 100 photographers there. Everyone can get this picture. All of you can. Autofocus, high ISO, all of you are there. So what is going to make my picture different? Why would someone hire me rather than you? And the idea is it's lighting. It's going to be lighting. Well, I can't take it to the arena and light it up. They don't like that necessarily. But during a training session, I said, hey, we're going to do a portrait. This was actually for the U.S. Olympic Committee. And I said, let's just take his signature move, right? The Maltese cross. I'll take his signature move. And I suggest to you, if you've got athletes, if they're good at the hurdle, you take the hurdles. If they're good, they do the Maltese cross. That's their signature move. You do that. If it's ice skating, it's figure skating. Maybe it's like a Bielmann spin. That's where the girl has like her leg up over her head and she's going round and round and round. Take the signature skill and then light it up like a portrait. Off-camera light. From now on, the viewpoint of those cameras right up there is my viewpoint that I'm looking at them. Camera, subject, and on a light stand that's way up there by the rings, now I have a flash hitting him off camera. I've got another one over here, and a little bit behind him. I can't get behind him because the thing's here. A little behind him, flash, and it edge lights him. Is that not a portrait? Rembrandt lighting, who knows what that is? Light comes in from the side, leaves a little triangle of light there. This is Rembrandt light. Rembrandt, this is a triangle. Camera, subject, off-camera light. Those are the important, that's the biggie right there. Rembrandt, did Rembrandt use a triangle configuration of lighting? Absolutely. Easel, subject, window light. Same thing. It's exactly the same thing. It is not that complicated. Let me hear you say triangle. Triangle. Louder, triangle. Triangle. Oh, if you were here with Jen Rosenbaum, you saw lots of triangles. Triangle. Triangle. Nobody? Okay, all right. Triangle. Well, okay, that's what. So I'll make it look different. Same skill, different athlete, right? Maltese cross. Window light, little triangle under there. Camera, subject, off-camera light, and a smoke machine. Bang. Same thing. Triangle. And then take it outside. High-speed sync, take it outside. Oh, it's going to be good. Are you guys good for another 20 minutes? Okay. Light transformation, the high hurdle. It's not that high. It's not that tough. Say triangle. How tough is that? And come on. Sun's going down, you get this sunset. It's a landscape, except it's got like an athlete in it. So I'm going to make a silhouette. I make a silhouette of my athlete. I just get my exposure and silhouette. Trial and error. Look on the back of the camera. That's what that little monitor's for back there. That's so you can trial and error. And believe me, I do a lot of Hey, how you doing? I'm glad you're here. All right. I may call on you later. You never know. Okay. Triangle. Camera, subject, speed lights, bang. It's off-camera light that reveals all the texture of the subject. In this case, that thing right there. If I had the flash out here in the front, like, kind of coming this way directly at him, I pop up the flash or I put the speed light on, bam, and then he gets flattened out. So I want to have that triangle, camera, subject, off-camera light, triangle. Triangle. Where's the light coming from? Over here. Well, let's see where. How far away is that softbox? Right there for you. There it is. Right. You can't see it exactly, but the art director is actually holding the light stand with speed lights. He goes, how are we going to get light on subject? This is in Tokyo. How are we going to get light on subject? I said, I hold up like some waders, fishing waders. I go, you're the guy. He was excited. Into the water he went. Camera, subject, off-camera speed lights. There's my triangle all in one picture. The resulting picture looks like this. Thank you for the oh wow and the head nod there, young lady. I appreciate that. Because that's what you want. You want people to go, oh, wow. Everybody can shoot motocross. Dynamic area AF, that's what I use on most of my cameras, right? The Z7, the 850, etc. It just picks it up. It's so easy. It's so easy. Getting more complicated, Right, back to gymnastics. I was actually a gymnast when I was a young man, so I like to come back to gymnastics. Something I'm familiar with makes it easier for me to learn something new. I don't go to a sport I don't know at all and then try and learn something new with it about lighting. I go to something familiar. That makes it easy on me. Camera, subject, off-camera light. Off-camera light. You got to have. We got a smoke machine on a kayak out here, right? We're sending the smoke across the lake, right? Smoke on the water. This guy right here, probably hard to see from way back. This guy right here, his whole job for like 3 hours was to hold the cord from the smoke machine, and then the one that's like plugged in on the shoreline, the connection point is right here, and he's in the water, and every now and then he would start kind of getting tired, the connection's getting near the water line, and I'm going, Hector, oh boy, Otherwise, he would have probably overexposed the image, probably. Okay. Camera, subject, off-camera light, get yourself a smoke machine and a nice smoke wrangler. This, again, is the art director. Honestly, it's the art director. High-speed sync, the great commercial break. We will now take a commercial break from Nikon. Well, from Nikon. All right, so here's what I like to use. I use something called a 4-square. It's a little bracket right there, has a nice, softbox. It has a cover on it, like a regular softbox, but I peeled it off so you could see what's going on, and I got 4 speed lights, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I actually like to kind of tilt them out so it bounces off the walls inside. That lets the light kind of be softer as it comes out, but it also controls the light so it's not spilling all over the doggone place. So now I'm going to do action, and I'm going to combine the ambient light outdoors. This is the great, great commercial break, and I call it the great commercial break because if it was a commercial break, you'd probably be kind of getting just a little tired of being as, Okay. Reel him back in. Okay, he's back with us. Camera, subject, off-camera speed lights. There's 2 of them, just 2 of them. And then I've got the sun helping light her up, but I needed that grass lit up as well, so I had 1 speed light. It was actually sitting on my backpack over here. I just had it on the ground, and it kicked a little light along the grass. You say it. Come on. Off camera. Yeah, right over here. It's crazy. Is that pretty? So for my exposures on these pictures, all of them have something in common. I'm going to underexpose the general picture by a stop and 3/4. That would be minus 1.7. Sometimes more, 2.0, sometimes less. Just depends on how dynamic I kind of want it to look. That's your choice. Mess around, right? How am I doing on time? Am I good? Good. So if I underexpose a sunset, what happens to the color? Yes, saturated. It gets more saturated. And then when the flash, the speed lights hit my subject, she comes forward instantly so you can find her. That's the whole idea. That's the whole underexpose your picture and then use your speed lights. Well, how much power on the speed lights? Well, it kind of varies depending on how far away they are and that sort of thing. Just make some trial and error tests. Have your friends stand out there. Have a light stand with your jacket and hat on it, and then get, camera, subject, off-camera lights, and then just take a look on the back of the camera and just go, wow, full power. I almost always start at full power. Always start at full power. Take a shot, and then I just go, too bright. What should I do? Change the ISO. Yeah, he just, no, of course not. I knew you knew the answer. No, change it. Dial the power down. How far? I don't know, drop it a stop, Go from full power to half power. Take another shot. Flash, take a look at it. Too bright still, but not, okay, drop it just another little third of a stop. There, perfect, good, we're ready to go. And here comes my athlete right now. Just jump up there and do something, right? And then you have it all ready for them. Triangle. Camera. This is the only one that doesn't involve that. Camera, subject, speed lights. They're just clamped to the tow bar. There's a big point coming up here. It is still a triangle. If you're playing along at home, it's still a triangle. It's just bigger. It's just bigger. It's like Luke Skywalker trying to get the rocket, out of the, the X-Wing fighter out of the bog, and he was told Yoda it was too big, he couldn't do it. And Yoda just goes, you do not believe, right? You don't believe. You got to believe. Doesn't matter if it's big, it's just still a big triangle. That's the resulting picture. That is a different kind of picture. And I found that my pictures started to make this huge jump from the editorial magazine world to the commercial world. That's why I call it the big commercial break. At most, at best, the most anyone's probably going to pay you for an editorial magazine job at the top end is going to be about $500. And that's probably a stretch. But a commercial job, which this was it $500? No. Let me hear you. Was it $500? No. Was it $5,000? $10,000? $10,000. That's a big difference. Same day, took one day out in the sun on the big boat and having a good time. And like the wakeboarders, they carry an entourage, with them, and people in bikinis and stuff like that. And there's also girls there. Incredible. Anyway. So this past year, been using the Z7. Z7 is not promoted as a sports camera. Really? Really? Well, I just don't know. It's too small and it's too light. Really? Well, yeah, it is actually. But anyway, here they go. Full frame, no crop. Right? Camera, subject, off-camera light. Just throw a little light. Got to get it in there, see inside that helmet. This is really a lot of fun to do. This is a great project. Loved working for Kawasaki. Losing my headset. Can you hear me? Yeah, good. Okay. So this was kind of brave. This is what a 16 to 35 and the FTZ adapter. No problem. There's no glass in the FTZ adapter, right? So there's no loss of quality of image. So I can use old lenses if I want to use old lenses. But I also like using the new lens, and I like the 14 to 30. I think that's awesome. But that also allows me to get a little close. And okay, this one was a little on the risky side. Don't try this at home. Don't try this at home. So I'm laying on the ground, and the guy comes around about 35 miles an hour or so, and then he loses the rear end. See how the back tire's up in the air? He loses the rear end. He jams the front brake on, and bam, and he flips over the top of me. I take the picture, right, and then I turn around and I go, Kyle, are you all right? Yeah. Get out of the bike. Do it again. That was awesome. He was ruined for the rest of the day. He's like 10 feet away from me. He's like not even close. Not even close. Everybody can take this picture. Everyone in this room can take this picture. So what's the difference going to be between you and everybody else so that you can maybe make a couple of dollars back on this whole idea of being a photographer? You're going to come out at a different time of day. You're going to underexpose the picture by about a minus 1.7. I had to think. Boom, then I'm going to fill it in with speed lights. Then I'm going to zoom in more and I'm going to tilt it and I'm going to get in real close because I want it to be impactful. I want you to feel what I'm feeling there. I want you to experience the whole idea that you're out in the water and here comes this guy and there's your triangle. Camera, subject. This is my son-in-law right here, right? Just get somebody to hold the lights. Everybody wants to experience some sports. Take them along with you. He's just standing on the dock. And that was a big enough triangle, far enough off-camera light to make a difference, to make it look interesting. You got to start looking for pictures nobody else can make, because if you don't, everyone's going to just make the same ones you make and go blue. I didn't go there, but I wanted to in a big way. I'll tell you, okay, I just thought to throw that out there. And while I'm thinking about it, ladies and gentlemen, if I could just, could you raise your hand? This gentleman won the Dick Butkus Award 5 times. He looks just like him. There we go. No? Okay, all right. We're just having fun out here. Light painting. I'm in my final segment here. How am I doing on time? Am I still okay? 4 minutes. What? You okay? 4 minutes, right? Here we go. Light painting. We're going to go totally to the other end of the galaxy on this thing. Everything's been high-speed syncs. High-speed sync means fast shutter speeds, freezing action. 1,000, 2,000, 4,000th of a second, off-camera light, all that kind of good stuff. Well, I do light painting. Who knows? It's like the artistic sort of mind. I got like the sports and speeds on one side, and then I got like slow shutter, long shutter speeds like 30 seconds and a minute and so forth. Fishing. I did some work for Orvis. Who fishes? That's sport, right? Yeah. When the fish jumps clean over the boat. And then that's sport for sure. This is all done with a very small little pen light. Very tiny little guy here. These next few series of pictures, see if I get this guy off. Just a single LED light. It's in a dark room. I don't really have much of a studio. It's my basement. Who has a basement? How about a garage? Yeah, we're in New York. I guess that doesn't work. Okay. Anyway, you just need a room that gets dark. Close the curtains, right? Set it up. I had 30 seconds, and I've just got the fly fishing gear. You know, it's on a table in front of me. I got camera, subject, and off-camera light. And here's my little fly fishing stuff, and I just, you know, I got 30 seconds to do it. Yeah, maybe I'll walk around and put a little more on this side, and I'll just paint the light wherever I want it. I'm going to paint the light wherever I want it. Very artistic, long exposures. I have nothing to do with the symphony other than I like it. But because I light painted, because I know how to light paint, I do a little lighting, I got a job for the city orchestra. I light painted all their, you know, various instruments and sheets of music and roses. I put roses on the music and I'm light painting. I'm a sports guy, right? But I like lighting. I like photography in general. Fall colors. A little leaf hanging in my yard. You know, it's like hanging in my yard. There's been a little kind of little drippy wet snow in the morning. And I got out there and I'm adding some light. Where's Jerry Guionis? Where is that Jerry? Nah. No, okay. No, it's a bride, right? I had to do a bride. I did a bride. And it's all done with this. And sometimes I'll use this guy. All this information is on my website. If you want to know what kind of gear I use, just go to my website, go to Dave's Gear page. It's got links to every place. Are you awake? All right, there he is. I don't have anybody to light paint. I can't get anybody to sit for me. There's no subject. Cosplayers. Ask a cosplayer. Man, they'll come in. They love getting their picture taken. They'll let you do it for hours while you learn how to light paint or do speed lights or whatever you're trying to learn. Cosplayers are great. Boudoir. Whoa, look out now. Where's Jen Rosenbaum, baby? Hey. Little boudoir action here, right? Little tiny shaft of light and then a red pen light for everything else. I'm a sports guy, but with lighting you can do a lot of different things. You increase your chances to make a living. Am I going to be able to, Mike, Big Mike, am I be able to go over a little bit? Okay, all right. Should I go over a little? Okay. All right. You got a flight to catch. I do, but I'll get there. Okay, so I bought a new house, and I decided I'm going to make a light painting of it. Why not, right? There you go. Hey, one more payment, and this baby's all mine. I'm telling you. Okay. Off-camera light, camera, subject, off-camera light, but not with a little flashlight. I actually use a small spotlight. Like 2 million candles. Get online and go, 2 million candle, rechargeable spotlight. And like 20 of them will come up. They're like 40, 60, 80, 100, anywhere you go. Go to my website, you see the ones I use. Off-camera light, same principle. But that's how I start getting stars. I've got a longer exposure now. The sun set. It looks like the sun just set. No, it set a half hour ago. But at like ISO 1000, at like 20 seconds, at f4, all of a sudden you start seeing more stuff. You can see stuff in the sky after the sun has gone down. This is in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. This is Schwabacher Landing, a very, very famous place, the Grand Tetons of Back. This is at 2 o'clock in the morning. Camera, subject, off-camera light. I'm a sports guy, but I like photography. I like lighting. Lighting changed my life because it changed my business. in a big, big way. I cannot emphasize that more. If you're trying to make a business out of this thing, lighting is a ticket that gets you there. It's going to get you there. Everybody can go photograph ice climbing. I'm sure all of you have the crampons, spike key, and all that stuff, right? Well, you go out there during the day, and I'm going to go out there at night, and then I'm going to light them up. And I'm going to make a different kind of picture of ice climbing. Bill Allard said from the Geographic, you've got to start looking for pictures that no one else can make. That's what changes your whole life right there. And it's fun. Star trails, slow it down, do like 12 minutes or something like that. The Milky Way, ISO 5000, right in there, right? Z7, oh, it looks so good. ISO 4000, 20 seconds. F4. Camera, subject, off-camera light. Right? I see lots of pictures on Instagram that have the Milky Way, and there's like a little person in it like this, This is where the guy is that doesn't, they don't do any light painting, and they're underneath the stars. I do a little light painting, and I'm over at the bank. I'm at the teller window going, this is working pretty good here. This was taken just a couple weeks ago. Camera, subject, off-camera lights coming in from over here. Make that the big triangle. That's like 100 yards. 100 yards out to where I am, and it's about maybe 60, about 80, 90 feet to the fence, and then etc. Still is triangle. It's exactly the same. There is no different. It's just bigger. You just got to get out there and give it a try. Got to start. I know. Okay. Experimenting with light. This is where I'm at now. So we've taken an entire career in like 35 minutes here. Long exposure, some ambient light, right? Using flashlight, had red gel on it, right? So a little red light, and then flash at the end. So it's like a red, just picture a red flashlight. It's paint. And the guy's like, hi, bam, flash. Right? All right. Seen it done before. Maybe not exactly the way I'm doing it, but kind of. Looks interesting. I like it. Worked out good for the client. Then Callaway called. Callaway says, hey, you used to do a lot of golf. Remember those days you were working golf? And I said, yeah, I put LED lights on the golf shaft. Swung the golf shaft. Speed light's over here. It's got a snoot on it, kind of to narrow it down so it's circular, more of a circular pattern. Off-camera flash. There are 2 green LED lights right behind his feet. That lights up the cyc wall that's white. Gives it that kind of green glow. That's golf. Golf is green. The Masters is green. Different. It's a little different. Just experimenting, trying to come up with something new. All right. Who's got a glow stick on him still? There you go. So I thought, well, the LEDs are a little cumbersome. They're kind of big. I know you can tape them on and do those. Go ahead. So I decided, well, what if I took party glow sticks and I taped them along the club shaft? And I wanted it to look like the rings of Saturn. This is about a 5-second exposure, right? Dark studio, still light painting, dark studio, right? Ready, and open the shutter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, flash. And the flash goes off. They went, wow. They were like, that is cool. Give me the brand new Big Bertha Club or whatever it is, right? We're ready to go. Just experimenting here. This was not for a client. I was just trying to teach myself something, right? The baseball is on fishing line. Remember my days with Orvis, right? Got my fishing line. It's hanging from the ceiling. I set it into a pendulum motion, right? Dark studio, totally dark studio. Pendulum, it's swinging. I got a blue LED and I go, a little bit of blue and flash, swing. See what it looks like. And I was like, and I don't think it's there yet. His swing wasn't smooth enough. It's got a little bit of like undulation going there. So I'm going to be working on it. I'm telling you how to do it. This is what I explain on my Instagram. If you can't remember all this stuff, and it's a lot, Just look on the Instagram. Stuff like this is explained on there. This is the big one. This one really broke things open. All I did was tape glow sticks, different colors, right? This is in my studio, the massive studios of Dave Black Photography. It's in my basement. It is not as big as this stage where she's standing. Black cloth background, that's about $60 a cloth world, right? Speed light on this side, speed light on that side, and there's a grid on each one to narrow the light down. That's why her legs don't light up, only her upper body, right? Start the exposure. Step in, flash, backhand. There's the ball, bang, like that, right? Then, it's a dark studio, right? Completely dark. She just takes the racket and she just goes, she just starts doing Tai Chi tennis. It's like Tai Chi tennis. And we just do it, you know, she must have done 30 or 40 of these things until we got the pattern down the way we thought it looked nice. Sometimes it would go in front of her face and there's like this big green streak in front. I said, oh, have it go underneath and then come up. You become a director with this stuff. All of a sudden I'm like a choreographer. It's a whole different role, but it is a lot of fun. This one's a little more organized. Throw the ball in. Am I doing okay? Throw the ball in. Flash, backhand. Swing, swing. Bigger, 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 and click, the shutter closes. It's about an 10 second exposure, something like that, about 10 seconds. It's recording the light of the glow sticks. You might have to put 2, 3, 4, 5 of them around there, get it all around in the circle so it looks nice. That way it sort of stops. And even though I see the glow sticks, it's like, doesn't matter, it still looks nice. Still looks nice. Have I lost anybody? This is a weird one. It's a weird one. It's going to get weirder. How about a portrait? I've hardly shown any portraits. Speed light, same setup. It's actually done exactly the same as the last two. Standing right here. All right, put your hand on your hip and hold the ball right there. And then I want the racket right out here where I can see the racket, right? Open the shutter. Flash, 1 second, 2 second, 3 seconds. Well, actually, she's looking this way, right? She's looking this way. Flash, lights her up, right? And then it's like, she's in the dark now. Just hold still, keep your profile there, keep it there, and done. And you get this really nice, the glow sticks moving, that's actually creating the background. It's a portable background. You can take it anywhere. This is Tamara Yurabayeva. All right, there's a name, right? Tamara Yurabayeva, 4-time world champion in rhythmic gymnastics. I went back to something I know about. I went back to gymnastics, right? I'm going to try something new. She's the world champion, 4-time world champion with hoop, right? Rhythmic gymnastics. And she brings all her hoops in. They're all real nice and everything. Well, I found online you can buy it, and it's got LEDs in it, electric one. There's an electric hoop you can buy. It's got 10 different modes, colors, white, all kinds of things. And I hand it to her, and she goes, whoa, I like it. Flash. Light stand, flash on a light stand, same setup. Nothing has changed on any of these. Is that crazy? Nothing's changed. Ready, and step, and flash. Move the hoop, move the hoop, move the hoop, move the hoop, then the shutter closes. We did about 30 or 40 of them. Put it on another mode there, Tamara, you know. She puts it on something else, and it's like, gets psychedelic. It's like, whoa, how that's cool, let's do that one. Step, and flash, and move the hoop, move the hoop, move the hoop. You get the idea. Camera, subject, illuminate the equipment. I've seen illumination of athletes when they've got it around their wrists and their necks and their ankles and they're doing things. That's swell. But I hadn't seen anybody do it really illuminating the equipment. It's something different. And jump, flash, move the hoop. And I had another person with like about a monopod. I just used a monopod and I put a bunch of glow sticks all along it, and he's going like this behind her. Kind of like the portrait. Same idea, except I combined everything. Just throw the kitchen sink right at him. I mean, just throw it at him and see what happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Black.
We made it.
Come
We
stand
made it.
here. Come stand here. We got to talk to these cameras right here.
All right.
You are sweating, man.
I am sweating. I'm like
You worked
working up
for
a
this.
sweat up here.
So let's say goodbye to the audience that has tuned in. Again, if you don't know, all these programs will be back on Nikon Live, including Dave's.
Yay.
So go back and watch them as many times as you want. We are done here for 2019 PhotoPlus Expo at the Nikon Theater and Booth. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next year.
Been a great audience. Adios, guys.
They want me to announce that the show's closing. Ladies and gentlemen, in and around the booth, the show closes in 2 minutes. Wrap up the conversations. The show closes in 2 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, the show is officially closed at this point in time. Please make your way out of the booth if you can. We thank you guys for coming, but the show is now officially closed, and we will see you next year. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's work our way out of the booth now. Thank you so much for coming. We got to shut down, we got to pack up, and we got to head to Vegas. Test.
Thank you, George.
Ladies and gentlemen, we must clear the booth at this point for security purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, please clear the Nikon booth unless you're an employee, security, or connected to the Nikon brand. It is time to go home.
Thank you very much.